It's 3:14 a.m. when the burner phone in your nightstand vibrates. It doesn't ring. It just hums against the wood, a low, rhythmic drone that feels like a heartbeat. You don't hesitate. You don't rub the sleep from your eyes. You've been awake for 20 minutes already, staring at the ceiling, waiting for this exact frequency. You pick it up. There is no greeting on the other end. Just a set of coordinates and a name. The name is Mateo Salazar. He's the third-ranking lieutenant in the Val de las Sombras cartel, and right now, he's sitting in a ditch 3 miles outside of the city limits with a hole in his chest and a smoking gun in his hand. The instructions are simple. You are the lead detective on the organized crime task force. You have the badge. You have the authority. You have the trust of the commissioner. But more importantly, you are the only man in this city that the Val de las Sombras hasn't been able to buy. Every other officer on your squad has a second salary paid in blood money. They have vacation homes in Tulum and offshore accounts in Panama. You have a 2-bedroom apartment and a car that makes a clicking sound when you turn the key. You are the unapproachable. That's what they call you in the dark corners of the social clubs. And that is exactly why the cartel needs you tonight. You pull up to the scene before the first sirens even break the silence of the suburbs. The headlights of your sedan cut through the thick morning fog, illuminating a black SUV turned on its side. Glass sparkles on the asphalt like fallen stars. You step out of the car, the cool air hitting your face, and you feel the weight of the service weapon on your hip. It feels heavier tonight. You walk toward the wreckage, crunching glass under your boots. There are 3 bodies on the ground. Professional hit. Tight groupings. No wasted lead. And then there's Salazar, slumped against a rear tire, clutching a leather briefcase to his chest like it's his own child. He looks up at you, his face a mask of sweat and crimson. He doesn't offer you money. He doesn't try to threaten your family. He knows better. He knows your reputation. He hands you the briefcase. Inside isn't cash. It's a ledger. It's the payroll. It's the names of every judge, every senator, and every cop who has taken a cent from his family over the last decade. They're coming to clean the board. Salazar coughs, the sound wet and jagged. My own people. They want the book. If they get it, the cycle continues. If you take it, you're the only one left who can actually burn the house down. You hear the sirens now. They're close, but they aren't the sirens of the righteous. You recognize the engine pitch of the cruisers from your own precinct. The men coming toward you aren't here to secure the scene. They're here to make sure Salazar doesn't speak and that the ledger disappears into a shredder at headquarters. You have 60 seconds to decide. You can play it by the book, hand over the evidence to your superiors, and watch as it vanishes, earning you a promotion and a quiet life. Or, you can tuck that ledger under your arm, tell your colleagues that the scene was empty when you arrived, and start a war that you are almost guaranteed to lose. You look at Salazar. He's gone. His eyes are fixed on the graying sky. You take the briefcase. When the first cruiser screams to a halt, Detective Miller steps out. He's your partner. You've stood godfather to his kids. You've shared 1,000 cups of lukewarm coffee. He looks at the wreckage, then he looks at your hands. He sees the blood on your sleeves. He looks for the briefcase, but you've already kicked it under the seat of your sedan. The air between you is thick with things unsaid. Miller knows you're clean. He's spent 5 years trying to find a crack in your armor so he can feel better about his own corruption. Late night, partner, Miller says, his hand resting a little too casually on his holster. He's scanning the perimeter. His eyes linger on the spot where Salazar's body lies. Dispatch said there was a high-value asset on site. We were told to handle it quietly. You shouldn't even be on this frequency. You shrug, keeping your voice flat, devoid of the adrenaline coursing through your veins. I was in the area. Heard the crash. By the time I got here, the shooters were gone. Salazar was already dead. He didn't have anything on him but a cheap watch and a grudge. Miller stares at you for a long beat. The silence stretches, punctuated only by the crackle of the police radio and the ticking of cooling engines. He wants to believe you, not because he trusts you, but because the alternative means he has to kill you right here on the shoulder of Route 9. He nods, finally, a slow, jerky motion. Right, empty-handed. I'll call it in. You walk back to your car, your back feeling like there's a target painted between your shoulder blades. You drive away slowly, watching him in the rearview mirror until his silhouette is swallowed by the mist. The ledger is sitting on your passenger seat, a ticking time bomb wrapped in Italian leather. You don't go home. You know your apartment is already being watched. Instead, you drive to a 24-hour diner on the edge of the industrial district. You sit in the back booth, the one where the security camera has a blind spot, and you open the book. The first page is a revelation. It starts with the chief of police. Monthly installments. Performance bonuses for lost evidence. Then the mayor. Then the district attorney. It's a map of a city built on a foundation of rot. But as you flip toward the back, the names change. These aren't local players anymore. These are federal agents. These are names you recognize from the evening news. The cartel didn't just buy the city. They bought the gatekeepers. And then you see it. Your own name. It's at the very bottom of the final page. There are no dollar amounts next to it. There are no dates of payment. Just a single note written in Salazar's elegant, looping script, the insurance policy. Do not approach. Do not offer. If the world ends, give him the keys. You realize then that your integrity wasn't a threat to them. It was a tool. They needed one person who was above suspicion so that when the internal purges started, they had a credible witness to point the finger at their rivals. You weren't the hero of this story. You were the designated survivor. The realization hits you harder than a physical blow. Your entire career, every sacrifice you made, every bribe you turned down, was factored into their business model. They didn't fear you. They relied on you. The bell above the diner door rings. Two men walk in wearing expensive wool coats that don't fit the neighborhood. They don't look at the menu. They don't look at the waitress. They look at the back booth. You slide the ledger into your jacket. The game has changed. You aren't just a detective anymore. You are the only man with the power to devalue every bribe ever paid in this state. You walk toward the kitchen, slipping through the swinging doors just as the men reach your booth. You're out the back exit and into the alley before they can draw their suppressed pistols. The city lights look different now. Every neon sign looks like a warning. Every siren sounds like a personal invitation to your own funeral. You realize you can't go to the feds. You can't go to the press. The names in that book own the ink and the airwaves. You find yourself at a payphone in a gas station parking lot. You dial a number you memorized years ago, a contact in a rival syndicate, the ones the Val de las Sombras pushed out of the territory 3 years ago. They're hungry, they're desperate, and they're the only ones with enough firepower to protect the man who holds the ledger. I have the payroll, you say when the voice on the other end picks up. There is a sharp intake of breath. Who is this? The voice asks. You look at your reflection in the grimy glass of the phone booth. You don't see the detective anymore. You see a man who just realized that the only way to destroy a system is to become the very thing you spent your life fighting. I'm the guy who's going to help you burn it all down, you reply. But it's going to cost you. I want a seat at the table. Not the side table. The head. The voice laughs, a cold, dry sound. A cop wants to be a king. That's a steep climb, detective. I'm not a cop anymore, you say, hanging up the receiver. The sun begins to rise, bleeding a bruised purple over the horizon. You get back into your car and head toward the docks. The transition is subtle at first. You start seeing the world not through the lens of the law, but through the lens of leverage. You see a patrol car and you don't think about brotherhood. You think about which page of the ledger that officer is on. You see a courthouse and you see a marketplace. By the end of the week, you've met with the heads of the broken syndicates. You sit in a basement flooded with the smell of damp concrete and diesel fuel. They look at you with a mixture of awe and predatory hunger. You lay the ledger on the table. You don't give it to them. You show them a single page. The page with the names of the port authorities. This is how we bring the shipments back in, you tell them. Your voice is steady, colder than it has ever been. The Val de las Sombras thinks they own the route. They don't. They own the people, and I own the people's secrets. From this moment on, every bribe they paid is now a debt they owe to me. One of the older men, a grizzled veteran of the street wars, leans forward. And what happens when the police come for you? Your old friends. Miller. The chief. You smile, but there is no warmth in it. The chief is on page 4. Miller is on page 12. They won't come for me. They'll come to me, because if I fall, this book goes to the Attorney General's office via an automated server I set up 3 hours ago. I'm the only thing keeping them out of a cage. I'm not just the detective they're afraid of. I'm the only boss they can't afford to lose. Months pass. Your life is a blur of high-stakes negotiations and silent executions. You move from your 2-bedroom apartment to a penthouse that overlooks the entire harbor. You still drive the same car, but now it's escorted by 3 blacked-out Suburbans. You wear the badge in your pocket, a heavy piece of tin that feels like a relic from a past life. You haven't stepped foot in a precinct in 90 days, yet you've closed more cases than anyone in the history of the department. You close them by feeding your rivals to the clean cops you've hand-selected. You've created a new hierarchy, a system where crime is regulated, violence is surgical, and you sit at the center of the web. The unapproachable detective has become the untouchable architect. But the stress never leaves. It settles in your marrow. You wake up at 3:14 a.m. every single night, waiting for the hum of a burner phone that never comes. You've replaced the fear of the cartel with the fear of your own shadow. You trust no one, not the men you led, not the cops you pay, and certainly not the partner you left behind on the highway. One evening, you're standing on your balcony, watching the lights of the city you now effectively run. The door behind you opens. You don't turn around. You know the footfall. It's Miller. He's not wearing his uniform. He looks tired. He looks like a man who hasn't slept since that night on Route 9. You really did it, Miller says, his voice barely a whisper against the wind. You took the keys to the kingdom. I thought you were better than us. That was the only thing that kept me going, you know. The idea that at least one of us wasn't a piece of garbage. I am better than you say, finally turning to face him. The city lights reflect in your eyes, cold and silver. You took money to look the other way. I took the power to make sure there's nothing to look at. You're a passenger, Miller. I'm the driver. Miller pulls out a folded piece of paper. It's a warrant. The feds bypassed the local office. They went straight to a grand jury. They don't care about your ledger. They don't care about the names. They've decided it's easier to just cut the head off the snake and let the rest of the body rot. They're downstairs, partner. All of them. You look past him, through the glass of your penthouse, and you see the flickering blue and red lights reflecting off the neighboring skyscrapers. There are dozens of them. A sea of strobe lights hemmed in by the dark. You realize then that the system didn't let you in because it needed a survivor. It let you in because it needed a target. By consolidating all the power, you made it easy for them to wipe the slate clean in a single night. You reach into your desk and pull out the ledger. It's worn now, the edges frayed. You hand it to Miller. Give this to them. Tell them I'm the only name that matters. You're coming with us, Miller asks, a hint of the old hope in his voice. You look out at the city one last time. The hierarchy you built, the ranks you climbed, the forbidden access you fought for, it all feels like smoke. No, you say, stepping back toward the edge of the balcony. The system never lets you leave, Miller. But it can't follow you where I'm going. The wind picks up, whistling through the glass and steel. Down below, the sirens grow louder, a cacophony of judgment rising from the streets you once tried to save. You realize the truth of the role you've played. You weren't the detective the cartel was afraid of. You were the one they were waiting for. The one who would gather all their sins into one place so they could finally be burned away. You feel the cold air at your back. The first flashbang goes off in the hallway, a blinding white light that shatters the darkness. You close your eyes and take a step into the void, finally free of the ledger, the badge, and the weight of being the only man who couldn't be bought. As you fall, the only sound you hear is the city breathing, a vast, hungry beast that is already looking for your replacement. The cycle is perfect, the hierarchy is absolute, and the next man is already waking up at 3:14 a.m., waiting for his phone to hum.